So I had a pretty weird dream last night. And in fact, I had a series of pretty weird dreams last night. This morning, in fact, I still had a surge of emotions. In my dream, I was running around a house that I definitely don't live in, looking for keys to a car that I don't own so that I could go to an appointment that honestly I wasn't even sure what it was for in the dream. And when I finally woke up, I felt almost out of breath. It's amazing that dreams can have such a powerful physiological impact on us and immerse us so thoroughly in a narrative that sometimes we question whether or not it's an actual memory. The brain has this fantastic ability to generate pictures, characters, and scenery, all while we seemingly are at our most inactive. And so it's no wonder to me that people completely ignorant of this fact would, say something like this. So turn in your Bibles to Numbers 12, verse 6. It says, "Listen to my words. When there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, reveal myself to them in visions. I speak to them in dreams." It makes sense to me that people would assume these dreams are really just messages from an external source. And this is a common theme of religious claims in general. They are oftentimes a first shot at explaining these incredible experiences that we have every day. And only with questioning and rigorous investigation do we really start to understand what explains them. Science is the best tool we have for this. And if you think your religion provides better evidence for the world around us, pick up the phone and call, because the show's starting right now. All right. It is so good to be here. Welcome, everyone. Today is April 28th, 2024. I'm your host, Secular Rarity, and joining me today is the Sheikh from Shaitan himself, Armin Navabi. What is up?
Hey, that's a great intro. Thank you.
Don't know how many more of those that I have. We've done a few, and I don't know how many more I have. So don't hold me to it, y'all.
You're so creative with these. That's amazing. I'm so impressed every time you come up with a new one.
I literally have no other skills. So it's why I'm no, doesn't matter. So unemployable. No, but man, I always love doing these shows with you. We got to do one together not super long ago, and we're going to be hanging out again in the future. I'm always excited to be on. And one reason I always love hanging out with you is because you have such a deep level of knowledge on so many things worldwide. And that's why you actually do a weekly news show on your channel, Atheist Republic. You always do every Sunday morning. You guys do a super great show talking about secularism and atheism all over the world. And there was something kind of specific that you wanted to talk about that's going on in Iran, and something that I think is really important for us here in the United States and, countries just outside of Iran. I think it's important for us to pay attention to. So what is that? Give our audience some context and some understanding.
Oh, thank you for Elliot for highlighting this. I appreciate that. Okay, I'll just be quick. So you guys know about the Massa revolution ever since Massa Amini was killed by the Islamic Republic. A lot of people assume that just has went away. It hasn't. It's an ongoing revolution. It's still continuing. And the fight between the people of Iran and the regime it has up and down, but it doesn't go away. So I know a lot of people get distracted by other news, and there's a lot of other things that are going on around the world that requires attention. But now we're hitting a new chapter within this revolution that I need people to pay attention to. And again, for you, a lot of the audience of this channel are atheists, or at least secularists, and many of you consider yourself secular activists. If you consider yourself to be a secular activist, you have to understand that what's happening in Iran is the greatest secular revolution in the history of mankind. So it does require your attention. If you support secularism, if you support fight against religious oppression, religious dogma, theocracies, this is a battle that does require your support. The Iranian people do require your attention. These are your fellow secular activists trying to fight against a religious, a dogmatic, a far right theocracy, and leaving them alone in such a moment is it's insane. Because if you, a lot of people here feel like they're part of a movement against religious dogma. Well, here is your chance. Here is the biggest, the biggest religious dogmatic force in the world as a regime oppressing a secular minded liberal group of people, and your voice, your support could mean a lot. Right now, the chapter that we're in this revolution in Iran is that the regime is trying to reinforce as more aggressively than before mandatory hijab laws. But again, it's not just about the point is that this is not about hijab. This is about abusing women and showing them that the Islam is not going away from Iran, that Islamic law is not going away from Iran, because the hijab has become a symbol. The hijab has become a symbol for how forceful and how much the government is able to exert its influence and exert its power to control the people using Islam as a vehicle. So, and just because the regime has managed to use Islam as a weapon against people, the people are taking off the hijab or not having the hijab as a sign that they're winning against the government. So a lot of people think that this is about being able to choose what you wear, but it's a lot more than that. The hijab has become the symbol of the government and its ability to control people, and the people have used the symbolism of taking off the hijab as a way to show that they're taking back the streets. So now enough time has passed since the the first wave of Mahsa revolution, for the government to think that not many people are paying attention to what's happening in Iran, to show to its base, to its religious fanatics and radicals, that we're back and we're not going to let all these non-hijabi women take over our streets, and they're abusing women to such an extent that is that we haven't seen for a couple of months now. And a lot of women are being attacked by government forces in Iranian streets, and we require your attention. And it's again for this same reason why Tumash Salehi, which is a very popular freedom fighter in Iran, rapper, Tumash Salehi has been given the death sentence by the regime. So the regime is trying to show its base, the radicals and the fanatics, the remaining minority, the less than 8% minority of these fanatics that support the government. The regime is trying to signal to them that Islam is not going away from Iran, that we will continue to keep this country Islamic by forcing hijab laws again more forcefully than before, but also by this new death sentence against Tumash Salehi. And Tumash Salehi is a hero and one of the bravest fighters, activists against the regime in Iran. And a lot of people think that the death of Tumash Salehi is going to be a huge red line. And again, this is another person that we need you guys to pay attention to, because this is one of our greatest fighters against the regime. I need you guys to search for his name on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, everywhere. So his name is Tumash, Toomaj Salehi, Salehi. So search for his name, use the relative hashtags to bring attention to him, because the regime is trying to see how much pressure it's getting after they announce the death sentence. It depends whether the regime is going to execute him or not. Is going to depend on how much backlash they get, both internally and externally, both internationally and nationally. So you guys could be part of that international pressure by bringing attention to this, to the fact that we don't, because Tumash Salehi did nothing other than rap against the regime and use his speech to oppose against the government. He did nothing else. He just basically sang and talked. And for that crime, he's been given a death sentence. So we need your voice. Please bring attention to this. Sorry, I think I spoke for too long here.
No, that's okay, man. That's okay. Because seriously, it's like you said, I think this is this is a moment for those of us in the United States, in the UK, Western countries throughout the world, Eastern countries throughout. Guys, this is a moment for all of us that care about secular activism and pushing back against the religious dogma and the harm that religions provide. This is a moment for us, I think, to stand in solidarity with our Iranian brothers and sisters. So I'm glad that I'm really happy that you are always fighting for that and just bringing attention to that, man, because it is a very, very important cause and stuff that I think intersects with a lot of cool things we like to do here. Like, for instance, the fact that the Atheist Experience is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. So yeah, definitely. I know a lot of our audience is very appreciative of that information. I have some share your experiences that we're going to get to here, Armin, because I think we've got some good answers. But before we go to that, I have to give a shout out to the wonderful folks who are in the live chat already sending in super chats. You guys help make this show possible. It takes money to keep all this stuff going, and you definitely help. So let me start with Gayest Husky. Sent us $9.99 saying, for those who say God is sovereign and can do what he wants, does God have the right to SA a child? It's a yes or no question, and I didn't ask whether or not God would do that. So no dodging. Well, folks, I can tell you out there, if you are a believer and you have an answer to that, Gayest Husky may not be on the show today, but Armin and I are, and we've got some thoughts too. So give us a call on that. We've also got $5 from Isaiah S., who's been a member for 1 month. Thank you so much, Isaiah. Saying, I helped build the Tower of Babel, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt that says gibberish, gibberish, gibberish. That's really good. I really like that one. I really like that one. That's a really good one. And then we've got Pippo sending $5 saying, sack, pass, say, ye, T. I have no idea what I just said. It's highly possible that was phonetic, something in another language, and I just said a horrible thing. And if I did, I'm terribly sorry, but I will blame Pippo and the $5 they sent. But we have some answers from last week's Share Your Experience, folks. So every week, we give you this super cool prompt and we ask you to give us your answers in the comment section below the video. And then we pick our top favorite 3 and we read them out here and we giggle about them and talk about them. And last week we asked you to complete the sentence, when God isn't looking, I like to blank. And up first, number 3, X Million saying, when God isn't looking, I like to pretend that I still have a foreskin. Sorry. I just didn't see where it went, and so like just the thought came like, only when God isn't looking, like when God looks, you're like, oh no, it's gone. Just sorry.
How do you pretend that? I wouldn't know.
I don't know. We're like just barely over 10 minutes into the show, and we're talking about foreskin. That's great. This is the world atheists want. Up next, number 2. Johnny Rogers says, when God is looking away, I like to think he's just as confused as we are about why socks disappear in the laundry. Yeah. I love the idea of getting up to heaven and you getting to talk with God, and he's like, hey, you only get one question.
Probably that guy that is pretending to have a foreskin is using them. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, no, that's good. And finally, number 1, our favorite answer, Ryan Goza saying, when God isn't looking, I like to switch hats real quick, so when he looks back, he can't tell which one is me. I love that thought. Have you ever heard the meme, by the way, about like the reason atheists aren't more popular around the world is because we don't have a cool hat?
Every other religion has a cool hat. Why have we not done this yet, atheists? Get on it. Somebody make us an atheist-themed hat. That is apparently what we need. No, but those were freaking awesome. I love all of our people in our community. They are wonderful. They come up with such great and creative things. And that is why we're not done. We've got a prompt for you this week, and I think this one is pretty good. So fill in the blank, folks. I think God made blank a sin just to fuck with us. So Armin, I'm going to start with you. What do you think God made a sin just to fuck with us?
So I'm going to use Islamic sins, or as we used to call them, I used to call them haram, right? And I am not fucking with you. This is actually Islamic law, okay? This is part of Islam, and it's so ridiculous that most Muslims are not aware of it and think I'm fucking with you by saying, well, most Muslims depend on where you are, right? But if you're a Muslim and you think that Armin is making this up to make Islam look bad, go look this up, right? So what did God make a sin to just fuck with us? Within Islam, God made it a sin for you to remarry your wife after you have already divorced her 3 times, unless she fucks someone else. So that would be haram. That would be a sin. So basically, that means that if you marry somebody and divorce her the first time, and then a second time, and then a third time, or if you triple talaq her, that's another topic. If you want to marry her a 4th time, somebody has to fuck her first. And again, I'm not making this up, right? Somebody, if you want to marry your wife for a 4th time, somebody has to marry her, consummate the marriage, basically fuck her, and then divorce her, and only then you could marry her again. So this is, for people who think I'm making this up, this is called nikah halale, or nikah, so nikah HALALA. Look that up. I'm not making this up. And this has become such an important practice and such an important issue that there is a job related to this.
No.
There are some people, yes, there are some people's jobs, which is called muhallel, which they're specifically, what they're supposed to do is that you pay them to come fuck your wife so that you could marry her again, right? And this has, throughout Islamic history, this has caused a whole bunch of issues, right? Usually these are religious. Usually these are mullahs, right? Usually the people, the religious authorities claim that who do you want to fuck your wife more than a religious, like a mullah? Like, these are the most, obviously they are the best people to do this thing for you. So there's a job category for that. And sometimes, like throughout Islamic history, there have been people that you pay to come fuck this woman, your ex-wife, for you, so you could remarry her, and they get the payment. And then once they marry her and they fuck her, they decide not to divorce her, and they ask for more money. Right? This is like a scam. So now you're stuck because she is married to him, and he's not letting her free unless you pay like 3 times more or 4 times more. This has become a major. No, anyways, again, I'm not making this up again. Go look this up. So
this is across the board. That is so strange. Like, and I have so many questions, like I'm wondering, like, was this just happening so much in Muhammad's time that he was like, man, we got to figure this out. Like, what are we going to do with all these people remarrying their wives 3 times? Or like, it is fascinating to me, man, honestly. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's 2 justifications for this. Some people say this. So the Islamic justification, some people argue, is that this is so that you don't take marriage lightly. Like, you're just marrying and remarrying, marrying and remarrying. So at some point you have to understand that you cannot do this, right? That's the Islamic explanation for it. Some people say, not me, I don't know why this happened, but some people say that this was just an opportunity for mullahs to make money and also get laid more,
Yeah,
so this would just open the job category for a whole bunch of mullahs.
Who said being a mullah didn't come with perks? No, I think, and this is going to sound crazy. I know what I'm about to say, Armin, is totally radical, but like maybe if you didn't have a system of marriage that completely took out one person's or one group's viewpoint and actually gave them the ability to make choices for themselves, maybe you wouldn't have this issue, super weird, crazy thought. I know.
It's just a weird way to make marriage more meaningful by like going around and looking for people like, hey, can you please come fuck my ex-wife? I need anybody can,
I really love her. I want to marry her.
Meaningful.
Seems to kind of be contrary to a lot of the other messages in the Quran there. Yeah, I would agree, man. I would agree. And
imagine also paying men to come. Like this is, I would call them, at some point you have to understand that these mullahs are actually prostitutes because you're paying them to have sex. Yeah.
Hey, and I'm not against prostitution. That's the thing. Like your kink is not my kink necessarily, but right, they are right. They're the ones that are right. I know. Very strange, very odd. I'm just thrilled, because the Bible doesn't go that deep into the intricacies of how to live your life, and thank goodness the Quran did, because we can point at it and laugh and talk about how clearly this couldn't be from an all-knowing deity. Gosh. Well, I loved that. I thought that was a great answer. I know our audience is going to come up with some fantastic answers. So again, folks, below this video in the comment section, give us your best answer to the prompt for this week, which is fill in the blank. I think God made blank a sin just to fuck with us. And then make sure to check out next week's episode at the beginning where we reveal our top 3. Now, we already have some wonderful calls filling up, and we've got more lines open, folks. So if you have something you want to tell us, if you think something we've said is stupid or wrong, give us a call. I have to read a couple of these super chats. We got $10 from Miranda Rensberger, who has been a member for 2 months, by the way. Thank you for that. And all the members, make sure to spam all those emojis in the chat because you have that power. And it says, come on, theists. There are souls to be saved. Call in and give us your best evidence. Yes, Miranda, I agree. And then we've got here from Pippo, $2. It's actually on my screen twice. I don't know if you sent it twice or if that was a mistake, Pippo, but either way, thank you so much. Pippo says, Sak passe Yiti means what's up, Haiti? Well, I will frickin' say that all day. What is up, Haiti? I know there's some troubling times going on right there. And Pippo, if you are there in Haiti, stay safe. Stay safe, my friend. And finally, Frankenstein, a member for 2 months, sent us, holy crap, sent us $50. Thank you so much, Frankenstein. That is amazing. This is for bringing attention to the struggle in Iran, for being you, and for, quote, what not. So thank you very much. I feel like that last one was me. It was like, thank you, Armin, for bringing attention to the struggle. Thank you for being you, and then for whatnot.
Thank you for caring.
Yeah. No, seriously. Thank you so freaking much for all of that, you guys. We are here to take some calls, Armin. So let's get right to it. We have Christopher, him out in California, wants to talk to us about a revelation that they got from God himself. So, hey, Christopher, you're chatting with SR and Armin on Atheist Experience. What is up?
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. How are you?
Very good. So just a quick background. I actually was atheist up until about a month ago. I actually used to watch Atheist Experience all the time since 2010. I used to love watching Matt and stuff, just bash people. It was fun.
Cool.
I was a philosophy major in college and stuff. So yeah, I understand everything. I know all the pretty much all the arguments against God and all the problems with religion. No problem.
Awesome. So
my little tale that I'm about to tell you. Go ahead.
Yeah. I want to try to make this as productive as possible for the three of us as well as all of our audience. I'm going to go ahead and say something, and it might sound a little harsh, Christopher, okay? But just go with me here for a second. I don't think we need to hear the details of what occurred in this particular event for you. I am willing to grant that whatever you say happened to the fullest extent of the possibility of it happening, right? I'm on board with you. I think the more important thing, especially if you were somebody who did not believe in a deity, why did this experience make you believe in a deity? I think that might be the most interesting portion of it, and might be the place where we can really kind of hash out our disagreement and understand each other a bit more. Do you think that's fair?
I perfectly understand where you're coming from. Normally, I would have, as I've been explaining my story to everybody, I like telling them from the start. Normally, though, because you'll hear my sincerity, and it's very detailed. I remember.
I'm granting that you're sincere, Christopher. I think you're telling me the freaking, God's honest truth, to steal the phrase. I fully believe that, man. I don't think you're trying to pull the wool over my eyes or just troll or anything. I mean, maybe you are, but I always try to give the benefit of the doubt to people, and I think us going through a detailed story about, man, I saw this thing, or like I heard this voice, or I had this feeling. I don't know that that is particularly the most interesting part, because I think you would probably grant that Armin and I have had similar experiences in the past. Other people have similar experiences. The crux of the issue is, why is that experience indicative of a deity, and specifically indicative of your deity?
I understand what you're saying. So
yeah.
Let's say this. I did not believe the experience myself. I thought I was shock because of something that did happen. I worked in an auditorium, going to break down a setup for an event that occurred. There's 2 storage room doors in a storage room. As soon as I approached the doors to the auditorium, I hear a loud bang. When I plant both feet, loud bang. I'm thinking that the people from the previous group in there are moving stuff out of the storage room, something large, right? Makes sense.
Sure.
So I opened the door cautiously. I looked through. From my perspective, I could see one of the 2 storage room doors. The storage room door that I'm referring to is a huge, heavy mechanical storage door, kind of like a garage door, but extremely heavy. Part of the auditorium part of the door in the midsection had pushed itself out somehow from the alignment that it is. So it's pushed outward towards, the outside of the door. It's bouncing up and down like some poltergeist shit. I mean, it was like it was trying to play Meshuggah. It's all over the place. I'm like, okay. And the first thing I think to myself is, oh, a ghost. Almost jokingly to myself. Like, if somebody saw that, they would say, they would say that. And I'm about to whip out my camera just to film it. And I'm like, that's so stupid. It's probably something obvious, right? So I just quietly head down there and I expect to see somebody. I look around the whole auditorium. No one's there. I still looking at this door. It's starting to bang out from every section. There's no wind. It's pretty silent. I don't know what quiet elephant is behind there pushing this out, because that should not be possible. I'm thinking somebody's behind the storage door doing something. I'm thinking my coworker didn't say anything about any maintenance or anything going on in the storage room. Both storage room doors are closed. To get to the mechanical storage door, you have to open the smaller manual storage door. It's closed. Why would both of them be closed? Secondly, I could see behind the mechanical storage door that's being protruding now, it's completely dark in there. Why would maintenance or anybody be in the room in the dark? And what are they doing to this door in the first place? As I make my way down, I'm in the midsection of the auditorium now. I get a really bad feeling that what I'm seeing is not normal. I pull out my phone to start to text message my coworker, about to ask him, hey, who's in the storage room? Suddenly I get like a half second of extreme fear and I'm about to run out. Suddenly my focus just goes on the storage door. It's flopping, it's beginning to flop out. Like I cannot explain what is doing it. I start walking towards the storage door. I'm like now in flop. I need to know what's going on here. As I get to like a nearer point, because the setup of the chairs is in 3 large rows. I'm finally entering the last row of chairs. It then begins to intensify with each foot I make towards it.
Can we just okay, something that seems impossible to happen happened. That's the summary of every single one of these stories. Like we don't really I see now why I really was interested in hearing it, but now I see why Elliot wanted to stop you, because these are all the same. They're all the same. The summary of it, something that you consider impossible to happen, you witnessed from happening, okay? How does that get us to God?
I had visions afterward. I'm trying to explain the reality of what was happening versus what I thought was happening in my mind. Makes sense, right? I'm trying to be
doesn't matter
about it. I didn't just come to a conclusion.
You're not being logical about it. It's weird that you think this is like has anything to do with God after saying that you have watched so many of these shows and you understand everything. You don't seem to even understand the basics. How does this get to God?
No,
that connection, Christopher, I think is really, like I was saying at the beginning, I think that's the crux of this for all three of us, to be honest, because at the end of the day, if you tell me a story where, I don't know, you were just like washing your feet one day and then you saw a vision, like, that's cool, man. But actually that information is not particularly relevant. What's relevant is why that experience, whatever it is, would lead you to accepting the claim, it's from a God, or there is a God, or it's my God, or whatever in that category. So like I am so on board, man. This is a crazy thing. Absolutely. It had a massive impact on you. Totally, totally cool. You had visions afterwards about it that were unexplained. You couldn't figure it out. No worries. I think you're being completely genuine. Okay. But what I'm interested in mostly, because this is really where the rubber meets the road, why do those experiences make you convert to a belief in God? You said you were an atheist. I'm assuming you mean I didn't believe a God existed or could send messages to people up until then. Now you do. Is it simply because you had that experience, or is there something about that experience that exclusively points to God?
All right. So I approach the door. I hear a voice. That
no, wait, no, we don't. Okay, you're just going to keep going. Is it ever going to get beyond something that cannot happen, eyewitness happening? We don't care about you going us and this is getting boring. And you act like you have something special for us. You know, we have been hearing these stories for so many years now. You say you have been watching these shows. Other people come up with similar stories. They're not. Some of them say they believe in God. Some of them now believe in Ganesh because of this. Some of them believe in the Mahdi. Some of them believe in Allah. They all believe in all sorts of random things because of experiencing stuff like this. We are not interested in you taking this long of a time and telling us the details of what happened to you. We understand it. They are all the same. How does that get you to God? Where's that part of the conversation?
God revealed himself to me. I saw the face of God.
Right. How do you know that it was God? That's the interesting connection. I'm with you, man. I think you had these experiences.
It was me, Christopher. It was me.
Right.
I have superpower. I was missing.
Why was it not Armin? Okay? How do you know that?
Because I saw things that are not possible, that separate from the event that did actually occur. I wrote
things.
Story that the things that occurred. I did not include the God part. I was in shock. I had to go medical check out just to make sure that I wasn't crazy. They said I wasn't, and I had the proof.
It doesn't work like that. That's good, but hang on a second. You said the claim that you made, Christopher, was that, you know, when Armin said, "Hey man, actually it was me. I was just fucking with you." You said, "No, couldn't have been you, Armin. Had to be a God because the things that I saw were impossible." Unless it was a God. What things? Just give me one. We don't need a list, just one. And then how do you know that it's impossible to see those without a God? How have you done that work?
I saw, this is not silly. I didn't believe in myself.
Okay.
I saw the kingdom of heaven. God explained to me what he was. He's 10th dimensional, all sentient reality.
So why is it not possible to see that unless a God actually exists and is giving you that message? Are you telling me that somebody couldn't have that vision?
Even if there is a God, how do you know it wasn't the devil? I don't know, right? How do you, like, what the hell? You're pre-assuming, like, God. You're like, how do you know it was God? And you say God was explaining these things to me. You're we haven't gotten to the God part yet. You're pre-assuming things.
The reason he doesn't reveal himself to anybody is because that's not part of this exercise that we live in. That faith is kind of the thing about it.
We haven't. You don't know. You're making claims about how God operates. We haven't even gotten to the part that this is a God. You haven't even shown that. You're now making claims about how it operates. You haven't even begun to show that any of the things that you suggest to us that happened shows that this was a God. Here, I give you a better revelation. Okay, you know what? Yesterday, I looked into the sky, okay, and the stars moved, and there were 5 other people with me. They all saw it. It wasn't just me. It wasn't a delusion. We all verified that we're all saying the same thing. The stars moved, and they wrote in the sky that, hey, Armin, I am talking to you, not to the 4 or 5 other people right next to you. I want to tell you that you are wrong, and there is a God, and this is me, God, communicating with you right now. And I saw all of that happen. Okay? Do you think that actually? Do you think that witnessing anything like that would actually prove God? How would I know that that's actually God? Just because it said so?
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what it is. You haven't.
How would you know?
Higher dimensional thinking. I can't explain it to you. You've never experienced anything that I've experienced. I know it sounds.
Then why are you calling? If you can't explain it, what's the point of calling in?
Yeah, that seems.
The part of the exercise that I'm showing you is that it gives somebody hope. Hey, maybe they believe my story. Maybe faith burns on hope, basically. And that's the idea behind it.
That's actually what faith is. So faith. So basically, this is you have no. I'm actually glad you called in. Do call in, okay? Because this is what you're showing us, right? You have no explanation when we ask you why this is God. How do you know that this shows that there's a God? You say, I can't explain this to you. This is faith. Yes, thank you. Thank you for showing us that what faith is. It's basically believing things without having any explanation or any evidence for it. It is what it is. I'm just going to tell you guys, and do you expect from the listeners or us to just be accepting of this nonsense just because you're saying it without providing any explanation? I witnessed something, therefore God, why? I can't explain it. And you think that should work. If this works on anybody, and you started your call by saying, I understand everything. You don't seem to understand even the basics of logical reasoning when you expect people to come up with a conclusion without even providing an explanation. Yeah. I don't know how you've been watching this show for this long, and this is what you get out of it.
Yeah, we'll give you a little bit to respond, Christopher.
Thank you. Look, I understand. You cannot. I have the same scientific mind as you. I assure you. I did not believe this immediately. It took weeks of like a bunch of crazy shit. He had to show me things.
It doesn't matter. How does that matter that it took you weeks?
Yeah. If
how do you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, I think we're just kind of spinning our wheels a little bit here, Christopher. And in part, I think it's because where Armin and I are coming from is a very focused point when it comes to this story, when it comes to this experience. We are absolutely willing to grant fantastical experiences occur on a regular basis. That was what my intro was about. It wasn't made up. I literally woke up this morning going like, holy crap. That was intense. That was an intense ass dream that I had. I have no idea why. I got about the same amount of sleep as I normally do. It wasn't like I was like, eating a shit ton of crazy foods or anything. It's just a normal night, man. It just, my brain, put this shit together for me and it freaked me out a little bit. But that fantastical experience is actually not what's interesting. What's interesting is how we make the connection between that occurrence that I had and then the conclusion that a deity exists or a deity was giving me that. And so because we're kind of coming from a little bit of a different perspective on this, I just don't feel like we're really getting to the meat of it as much as I would like to. But no worries, Christopher, give us a call back. Man, we do this every single week. Same great time, same great channel. And just take the next week and think about what specific about these experiences leads you to the conclusion a God exists, and specifically this God exists. Because I think that will help us understand where you're coming from a little bit more and just be able to dig a little bit further into it, man. So I'm gonna let you go, man. Thank you so much for giving us a call. I do greatly appreciate it. I always love to hear when people have switched from being a non-believer to a believer of some kind, because I always want to know what made you switch, what made that conclusion viable for you. And so far, unfortunately, I have never really gotten a good answer. Go ahead, Armin.
It amazes me that people saying that I was an atheist now that I'm a believer, that adds any weight to their conclusion. If that did add any weight to your conclusion, then people believing in God and now leaving religion and not believing in God, then it should work the other way as well. Yeah. Does it work only in one way? And when you say, like, I didn't take this lightly, I thought about this for weeks. Well, okay, many people thought about leaving religion or belief in God for weeks, and now they're atheists. How does that work out for how does this add to the validity of your argument? Why do you think that works in your favor? It doesn't matter. People spend months, years thinking about something, and they could still come to the wrong conclusion. That adds nothing, is useless even mentioning that.
Yep. I agree, man. I agree. And with that, we have a couple of super chats before we grab this next call. We've got $5 from Chris saying, keep up the skepticism, guys. Well, thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate that. And we will do our best. We will keep it up. It does get heavy, but we've got a lot of hands here. We've got $5 from Chibi Nero, who's been a member for 2 months. Thank you so much for that. Woke up from a dream once after being shot in the back 3 times. Felt it for 2 hours after. Must mean a spiritual assassination attempt. I love that. I love that idea. Like the idea that you could, like, you know, do Inception, but like actually kill people in their dreams or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go down a really weird route. We're going to end up talking about DMT for the whole show, and I don't think any of us want that. So before I grab this next call, I am going to remind you that sometimes in life it's confusing about what you can do. You know, it seems like there's a lot going on, and, you know, you just are a small drop in a big ocean and can't really make a difference. Well, I'm here to tell you that that isn't always the case. You can do a lot for this wonderful channel by just liking the video, subscribing to the channel, enabling notifications, or commenting below on whatever. I'm sure there was probably only 2, maybe 3 of you out there that knew where I was going when I started that. That's what I like to do. I like to shake it up. So yeah, the world may be chaotic, and you may not have control over much, but there is one thing you can control, which is that YouTube algorithm. So give a sacrifice, give a like already, and let's go to another call. We are actually coming out my way, going out to Tennessee. We're going to talk with Apothatic. I'm probably saying that wrong. He, him, theist, wants to talk about God. Hey, tell me how to say your name correctly, and you're chatting with SR and Armin. What's up?
Yeah, so to say my name correctly, it's Apothatic.
Apothatic. Yeah, I figured it was one of those. So yeah, perfect. What is up, man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, pretty good. What you got for us today, man? Looks like a lot of big words.
Yeah, so I wanted to give an argument for God's existence.
Yeah, go for it. What you got, man?
So you've probably heard of the transcendental argument before, I'm assuming, right?
Oh.
You are on the Atheist Experience a lot.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
All right. Yeah, so this is the epistemological transcendental argument that I like to present. Basically reasoning to why God exists by retorsion. So I'll give you a syllogism if you want. I'll be fine.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, go for it. We like syllogisms.
Yeah, so Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so premise one is going to be that God is a necessary precondition for knowledge. Premise two is knowledge. We have knowledge, conclusion, therefore God.
Yeah. I like, I like that. I've heard it before. For sure. I always like to say this stuff, by the way, which is like, I don't have like a degree in philosophy, man. I go to J Mike a lot for sure to get some really good insight. Another person I really like, by the way, I just want to shout this guy out. Dr. Lance Bush, just has some really interesting thoughts on things. And I really have enjoyed listening to him over the years. I think on the rip, the first thing that comes to my mind is I have a problem with the first premise. I don't know how we would get solid justification for that, right? The first premise was like God is the foundation for knowledge, right? Like we can't have knowledge without God. Is that, am I getting it pretty close?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think that is probably going to be the most objectionable in it. I mean, we could go down the route of like saying, hey, we just don't have knowledge whatsoever. Maybe that's productive, but I think that first premise is probably the more to sink our teeth in. But let me pass it to Armin real quick, Apothatic.
I mean, I'm sure you have an answer ready for this because you guys usually, your precepts usually do. But obviously, one of the biggest problems is that you're trying to prove God and you're using the word God in your premises. So you are basically pre-assuming God. So that's not how you do logical arguments, right? You don't, the thing that is supposed to be in the conclusion exists in your premises. That's not how you form any argument.
Are you saying
how
it's
do you
not
respond to
formally
that?
valid? Are you saying the transcendental argument is not formally valid?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm saying there's a soundness issue. I'm fine with saying that it's valid, but Armin, if you want to go down that route.
I'm sure you have a response to it. I'm just wanting to see how you respond to it.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, sure. So the transcendental argument is not necessarily begging the question. You're assuming that like we're just putting God in the premises, so we're assuming the conclusion. With transcendental arguments, especially if you look at Immanuel Kant, I don't think it's really assuming the conclusion. I don't believe that to be the case. It's an argument of retorsion, basically meaning that without like the necessary conditions for something, you wouldn't have something else. Like, for example, most precepts use the example of like a cake, right? If you have a cake, you're obviously going to have the ingredients. Without the ingredients, you can't have the cake. Simple as that. It's not that I assume the ingredients to be the case in the first premise. It's not begging the question, right?
You keep saying it's not begging the question, and you keep like saying, I don't think it is, I don't think it is, I don't think it is, but I don't hear why it's not. The actual thing that is supposed to be the whole point of the argument is right. It's right. You mention it. The first word that you mentioned on premise one includes, it was God. It's not ingredients. It's the very thing you're trying to prove that exists.
Yeah, so I explained to you, I gave you an analogy of like a cake, right? So the ingredients of like flour, eggs, whatever, are necessary for a cake to be the case. We have a cake, therefore the ingredients exist as well. So it's just whatever necessary is something that is necessary for a certain object or anything in philosophy to exist is like whatever is necessary for that.
But that doesn't work because you're not okay. If the point of the argument regarding the cake was right that it's necessary, like if you were trying to prove that the ingredients of the cake are real, right? Even then, if you say, well, we have cake, and for the cake, the ingredients need to be necessary. We don't even know in that situation. We don't even know if the ingredients are real. So you haven't shown. You assumed that the ingredients are real. You assumed that this cake is here because of this ingredient. Therefore, you just pre-assume the conclusion of that argument. You're using an analogy because a lot of people already knew that whatever goes into the cake does exist, but it doesn't apply to the argument that you're making here. You have to live in a world that we are not sure if cakes come from those specific ingredients, and we don't even know if those ingredients do exist for them to make that cake. We do know cake exists, but we cannot assume. So you actually have to make the argument that these cakes come from those ingredients and those ingredients exist, right? You actually have to show it to us. You haven't done anything. You just basically repeated a claim.
Oh. The reason why I told you that God is necessary precondition knowledge is because there's an argument for the first premise with a disjunct. But right now, with the transcendental argument, I mean, if you want to say that Immanuel Kant is flawed in his syllogisms and it's not formally valid, then you're going to have to give an.
I don't care about Kant. Okay, we're talking to you. Okay, you have made no arguments, right? You just made a claim and you act like you made an argument, but you haven't. You are saying that God is necessary for something. We haven't even shown that there is a God. Maybe that's level 2. Once you show us that there is a God, then show us what he's necessary for. But you haven't even began to make an argument. You just repeated the claim over and over and over again. And you use words that make it sound you're intelligent, but this is one of the dumbest arguments out there. Anybody that understands what you're saying, the only people that might think that you're saying something intelligent is because of the words that you use. But once we actually explain to people what you're saying, even the most idiotic, the most simple-minded people can see that you're not saying anything.
You're not. So my argument is the demonstration, right? So you're questioning me for assuming necessary components. That's like questioning someone for assuming the self to be able to make a proposition. That's nonsensical to raise that objection to.
I think we have arguments that do give us good reason, good justification to accept the self as a necessary precondition for things. I really do think that's going to be the place where we will find more fertile ground between us. Getting to the conclusion that is premise 1 in this argument, I think is deeply important. And I think that's kind of what Armin has been getting at, is that when we use this type of construction, when it comes to things like cake, nobody's really going to be up in arms about it because, like, yeah, man, eggs are real, like milk is real, like, you know, we got all kinds of stuff that demonstrates that. So if the first premise is God is a necessary precondition to have knowledge, I'm really just interested in how do we get to that? What is the demonstration that is sound?
That's completely fine. So you were talking about soundness. Armin was more talking about the validity of like the formal validity of the argument. But sure, I can go into the soundness of it.
Yeah, let's hit it for a minute. We've got a bunch of calls, and so I don't know how much longer. So we've hit the validity side of it a bit. I think let's hit the soundness side for a few minutes and see if maybe we can get something.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, so the argument for the first premise is a disjunct, or what we call a disjunction in philosophy, which is it's like, for example, something's either true or false, right? So either knowledge.
I prefer true or not true, but.
Well, we would say that knowledge is either justified autonomously or theonomously. Autonomous epistemology is without reference to the necessity of God for the possibility of knowledge, and theonomous epistemology is reference to the necessity of God for the possibility of knowledge. Now, the reason that God is necessary is because autonomous epistemology is impossible.
Why? It seems like we're still kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, sure. So the reason that autonomous you want me to tell you why? I can answer.
Yeah, just real quick. We're gonna move off of this before too long because I feel like
insane.
Yeah, I know. This definitely is not Armin's favorite thing. It's very interesting for me.
This is so obviously stupid, but go on.
All right, go ahead, Kristian. I'll let Armin rip you to shreds here in a minute. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just teasing with you.
Explain it to him.
Yeah, why is... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I'll shut up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the reason why autonomous epistemology is impossible is because of this reason. So first principles, such as the self, time, laws of logic, all of those are really necessary for knowledge, right? So, for example, you can't make a proposition without a person. So to make a statement, you have to assume the self for that to be the case. That's an example of a first principle. And since first principles are necessary for knowledge, now you can't justify first principles. Under autonomous epistemology, first principles can't be justified. So if first principles are necessary for knowledge and first principles aren't justified, the knowledge would be impossible under the atheist worldview.
What is knowledge? What is knowledge? Just short answer.
What is knowledge? Justify true belief.
Okay. So
what about Gettier problems?
What if I told you, okay, we had no knowledge without any entities like humans that were observing things? You act like there is knowledge in the universe. You act like we had knowledge. I think this is a equivocation fallacy, because what you're doing is that you are, as what we are calling knowledge, when we need a self to observe the world, to create knowledge because of it. I think you're assigning that knowledge name to things that doesn't require humans or any other observing entity to be there to acquire that. So do you think like if humans were not around, or there any other living beings that were observing the universe, do you think we would have knowledge? Do you think like, let's say 5 seconds after the Big Bang, there was any form of knowledge? Are you considering like what we consider information, like any form of knowledge?
Are you talking about my belief, the argument for my belief? Because my belief is that.
Are you when you're using the word knowledge? Do you think there was such a thing 5 seconds after the beginning of after Big Bang in this universe?
Yeah. So we are assuming that knowledge is possible. Yes.
No, what I'm saying is that you're saying that to have knowledge, we need to have these entities like humans, so that could see things, that come up with a belief, a justified belief, a justified true beliefs, right? But I'm saying that yes, we didn't have knowledge until we had humans, unless there's aliens or something out there. Let's assume there's not.
Well, I said that
we didn't have knowledge. So
necessary for knowledge. I said the self, not.
It doesn't.
I said the self.
Anything. Okay, self is an identity. Because there's a difference between self and the observer part of our. Self is referring to an identity. That makes things a lot more complicated. I don't want to get into that. I'm just saying, without any form of observer, that some of them we could refer to them as self. Without any form of observer, we wouldn't have knowledge. You're assuming that we have a God, something that could be referred to as a self or anything that has an identity, because the universe comes with knowledge. I'm telling you, the universe doesn't come with knowledge. The universe didn't have knowledge for a very, very, very long time.
So we don't have knowledge. So knowledge is not possible?
No, I don't.
We have knowledge now.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he said.
Because until we actually had like until we had brains, now we have knowledge is possible. Knowledge was not possible for a very, very, very long time. So if you're assuming God because there's knowledge in the universe, there wasn't knowledge in the universe.
So either knowledge is possible or impossible. That's the true dichotomy. That's not, you can't have like, well, here's knowledge here, and then at this
knowledge, we have knowledge.
Yeah,
okay, there is no knowledge is possible. We have knowledge. I have a brain, you have a brain. Armin. Elliot has a brain, and what they're doing with this brain is that we're coming up with belief, and some of them are true and justified, which is based on your definition. That's what makes it knowledge. So based on that definition, yes, there is knowledge in the universe, so that makes it possible. I'm just saying this is not something that is within the fabric of the universe for you to be able to justify God because of it.
He's saying knowledge is not like some external entity that just exists in the world like, hydrogen, right? There's not just knowledge floating around out here that we can just grab every so often. That was really what his point was, I think.
Knowledge is just a chemical reaction. Okay, not like we have something that photosynthesis, that is a very complicated form of chemical reaction. Forming beliefs is another very complicated biological chemical reaction that happens within human brains, and I don't know, maybe other entities somewhere in the universe, possibly, I don't know, right?
Okay, so yeah, that's a positive claim. That's great. We're having a worldview comparison. I'm asking you, how do you know that?
Yeah, so I do think I think whenever I think
Mm.
whenever we step into a place where, you know, we're making claims on the other side of this argument, I have no problem supporting them and stuff. I don't know though that we've done enough when it comes to clarifying that first premise. I don't know that we've really gotten into that, and there could be a lot of reasons for that, man. We could. We do also have a lot of really other good calls that I would love to go to. And honestly, I'm absolutely willing to admit this is an argument that I need to personally dig further into. The problem I often experience when I get into this is it feels like we're doing quite a lot of backflips to get to something as simple as demonstrating the existence of something. And I guess one of the big things that always comes up to me in these moments is, why in the world is this necessary? It feels as if there is nothing else that falls into the category except for this God stuff, except for this spiritual stuff, except for this transcendental stuff. It feels as if everything else in the world that all three of us no question accept, it just doesn't require all of this work. And I don't understand why that is the case here. Again, I happy to say, hey man, I'm not as versed on this. I'm not as knowledgeable. Again, two of the people that I mentioned earlier, for instance, like Lance Bush and J Mike, I'm pretty confident I've heard both of them tear this stuff to shreds before in their free time and their off time. And so it's just interesting to me that you would have so many well-versed individuals who really don't give this the tag argument, don't really give it much time of day. Yeah, we've got some other really, really great calls, some other stuff that I think is going to be really fun to talk about. Some questions for Armin too. I always like to get those out there. But Apophatic, I really appreciate you, man. I appreciate you calling in. Before we let you go, if I think Armin has one more thing he wants to shout at you.
Yeah,
real quick.
No, I just said something that was wrong. I was being speciesist when I said, as far as we know, humans have justified true beliefs. It's not just the human brain. I should know this. I have dogs, and for example, my dog sometimes gets hungry, and they have the justified true belief that if I eat this, that will solve that problem. So there are other brains. It's not just a human brain that has knowledge. Like other animals have also knowledge as well.
Yeah, don't come after Armin's dogs. He will absolutely bite your head off. No, but seriously, Apophatic, thank you so much for calling in. I thought you were incredibly cordial. Man, this is dense stuff for sure, and I'd love to hash it out with you more. I know before too long I'll be back on with J Mike. Please call us in then, and get his thoughts on it too. Again, I just think we need a lot more when it comes to that first premise. But it would also be fun to dig into whether or not we have knowledge at all, because that is a fun discussion too. But thank you so much, man. I'm gonna let you go. It's always good to hear from people in Tennessee. That's my state, y'all. It's a good state. It's got its problems. It's got some nice stuff too, but it's got problems. But I'm going to tell you about another state. I'm going to tell you about another place. There's many places all over the world, but there's one place in particular. And in this state of Texas, there's a city, the city of Austin. And in this city of Austin, there's a library, the ACA Free Thought Library. And at this library, there are meetups and community events happening all the freaking time. And we want you to know about it, folks. So go to tiny.cc/ACA meetup and follow us on Meetup to keep up with all of the super cool community events like Philosophy Under the Stars, game nights, and more. In fact, folks, I am going to do something crazy. I'm going to make a bold prediction that there might even be people there right now. And here's why I say that, because we are doing weekly watch parties at the Free Thought Library on Sundays for live viewings of Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience. Every Sunday, the doors open at 11, and it is a great place for community. Guys, crew, Do we have a shot of that? Do we have some people at the light? That is awesome. I am always so excited. I was down there last year. I can't wait to get back there this year. Folks, if you are in the Austin area, go hang out. It is a super cool place. You get to meet a lot of really wonderful people. And they often, I'm not going to say always, but they often get food afterwards. So like, come on. I mean, seriously, that should do it. That should do it for all of you greedy, hungry atheists out there. Anyway, we have even more calls. We do have some wonderful theists on the line, and I'm going to tell you this right here, right now, theists. I know you can hear me as you are waiting in the queue. We are going to get to every single one of you. I want to grab this wonderful person out in Denmark first because they have a question directly for Armin. They have been waiting on hold for an extremely long time. So we are going out to Denmark, which is awesome. We're going to talk with Kristian, he, him, and you've got a story you want to tell and some questions you have for Armin. So what is up, Kristian?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I called in Talk Heathen 3 weeks ago and had a lovely talk with Jamie, the Blind Limey, and Jason Friedman, I believe his name was.
Great dudes.
And they
Great dudes.
Pointers. But I was hoping to get a talk with Armin because the thing is, my son, he announced some 3-4 weeks ago that he has converted to Islam, coming from, I suppose, Christianity. But he's brought up in a non-religious family, myself being an atheist, my wife being a cultural Christian at best. So we celebrate Christmas and Easter more for the food and drinks and don't attend church, for example. Both of our kids are baptized, and that was mostly because of tradition in my wife's family. They were given the choice of going through this confirmation, the Christian confirmation, and my daughter didn't want to go through it, but my son chose to do so. This was last year, so I had an idea of him being more religious than I am, he had started using some rhetoric that I didn't like. Such as reading holy text with your heart, and text being inerrant and those kinds of things. So I thought I knew that something was going on, but I thought that I could have a talk with him, and until my wife called me some 3-4 weeks ago. The thing is, I'm on a ship, so I'm away at the moment, and she called me and told me that she had a talk with him, and he had in fact converted. He had done this ritual with 2 of his friends. One of the things that I talked to them at Talk Heathen about, or one of the pointers they gave me was to find out who was sort of behind it, and I found out that it is just these 2 friends. None of their parents are involved, and no imam is involved. But of course, my wife and I are both basically afraid of losing him to this religious cult or whatever. I have this idea that people that convert tend to become more orthodox than people that are brought up to it because they will want to sort of prove themselves. So I fear that he will be drawn more into that. And of course we're afraid that we'll lose him, that he won't be able to be a part of our family anymore. So I was hoping to get some pointers, what to expect. How dangerous is this, quote unquote, for our family? Is there any way back? Are we talking indoctrination here? And yeah, whatever pointers would be very welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, so how's your relationship with him right now? How close are you?
Well, it has definitely not worsened. Maybe, but but perhaps I'm also seeing ghosts here because maybe his relationship with his mother has worsened a bit. But he kept on telling us that how much he respects us, and he actually sort of gave the Quran gave that as a reason for that. The Quran said that he had to respect us. So I don't know how much respect is worth in and of itself. It was just come from a doctrine, but excuse me.
I mean, okay. So, is your goal to make him, like, ideally, if he stays a Muslim, but what is the ideal? What is your goal? Like, if he stays Muslim but still maintains a good relationship with you, and doesn't leave the family, and you guys he's participating, he's close to you guys, but just as a Muslim, would you be okay with that, or are you just want to make sure that he leaves Islam? Or would you think, like, okay, I can deal with this. He could be Muslim.
I would definitely be okay with it. I mean, both my wife and I, we love him to death. So okay. I would do anything not to lose him to this. Okay. Of course, if I see him getting more indoctrinated, I would want to fight for it. But I would be able to live, of course, with him. I've always been of the opinion that we don't choose our beliefs. So of course I cannot tell him to not believe in this.
Right. But what's your priority? What's your priority? If he starts having beliefs that you do not like, if he starts saying things that you find questionable, is your priority to keep him in the family, or is your priority to challenge those beliefs and try to show him that those are wrong? What is your priority?
I would think it's definitely keeping him in the family. Definitely.
Okay, then don't challenge him.
If we lose him from the family, then all hope is lost, I suppose. So,
right.
Yes, I want to keep him in the family.
Okay, so don't fight it. Then, if that's your priority, okay, don't fight his beliefs. Okay, because here's the thing: within, as much as I'm anti-Islam, there is nothing. Well, I wouldn't say nothing, right? But in Islamic ideology, he doesn't need to cut relationships with you. He doesn't need to leave you. And even if you think that he's respecting you because he's being told, I don't think your son is a robot. Like, I think that's just an excuse to be able to do what he wants to do. Like Islam, like religion is not like, I'm a robot, I have no emotions, and this is a code that has been inserted in my brain, and now I'm following it without actually genuinely having any emotions for my parents, right? So if he is respecting you and he's still with you, and he says that this is because my religion teaches me to do so, he wants to do that. Because if he's looking for excuses for a religious doctrine to not be with you, there's enough also scripture for that, right? So don't worry about the value of the respect and the value of his time with you. We are emotional, like humans are emotional creatures, and we would end up at the end of the day do the things that we find most enjoyable. But here's the thing: if you want to maybe encourage him to question his beliefs without pushing him away from you, without even acting like you are questioning him, or without showing that maybe you're kind of challenging him, one thing you could do that could work in favor of bringing him closer to you, but at the same time making him evaluate his positions, is to show curiosity in his new religion, not concern. I think you and your wife, I encourage you to not show that you are concerned about his new religion. That could be the cause of the distance. In fact, that could be the cause of the distance more than his religion. Like if you think this could be a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Right.
like if he becomes a Muslim and you're so concerned about the fact that his new religion is going to cause a division among you, your concern might be what actually leads to that division, because he could see the concern and then he likes his new religion, and your concern makes him want to be separate from you. But instead of concern, you show curiosity, he might actually welcome that curiosity because he sees that you're open about it. Not only you're open about it, you want to know more about it. It's almost, I don't want you to be dishonest about it. Like, so I wouldn't say a celebration, but curiosity, right? But test it, because sometimes the curiosity might come off as concern. Just see if he's interested. Like let's see if you are interested in his new religion. Does he welcome your interest? So don't force it. If you're curious about it and ask him questions about it, and it seems that he doesn't like you questioning about it, then quit. I think you should quit. But if you see that he actually is impressed by the fact that you want to know about his religion and wants to talk to you about it, his new religion could actually be an excuse for you guys to bond, because he has this new thing that he's interested in, and you're talking to him about it. So this might be a bonding excuse, but at the same time, the type of curiosity that you have, the type of questions that you're asking, might make him also think about the reasoning behind the positions that he's taking, and maybe even start, putting some seeds of doubt in his mind. But again, don't aim for that, but it might do that. At the end of the day, the most important thing is to maintain a relationship, whether he quits Islam or not. Your objective, I'm glad to hear that your objective was not for him to leave Islam. Your objective is to maintain the relationship. So I think in most cases, not all cases, the worst thing you could do is to fight the religion. I mean, I fight Islam, but I wouldn't fight Islam in my family. Because in my family, my highest priority is to maintain my relationship. But go ahead, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. So if I do show this curiosity, and are there any taboos, anything I should stay clear of, where I can actually do more harm than good?
I'm so glad you said that. I will, real quick, I'll just shout out two resources that I think might be beneficial for you and your wife in this. Recovering from Religion is a really, really good place. And I know it may sound like that's an organization that is specifically trying to like pull people out of their religious belief. It is not. It is an organization that is devoted to having compassionate conversations with people and meeting people where they're at and helping them think through things and work through things. Funny enough, we actually got a $2 super chat from Michael Bell, one of our members for 2 months, who says recovering from religion can help with this discussion. So thank you for that, Michael. And the other place I'd point you towards is a really cool international nonprofit called Street Epistemology International. That's just a really, really cool place that has a lot of good resources when it comes to having these difficult conversations in a cordial way that doesn't push people away. So then I'll kick it back to Armin. I'll shut up after that. I just wanted to.
No, that's great. Those are good resources. So when you say taboo, what do you mean? Like something that it might offend him?
Well, yeah, exactly. So that he shuts down.
Well, you could tell him that beforehand to, like, I'm just curious, I'm interested, this is interesting that you find, show him that you are interested in anything that tell him maybe that he's your son, and whatever he's interested in, you are interested in, because you're interested in the things that your son is interested in. But you are also want to be mindful about not offending him, right? So if we're talking about this, son, if I say something that might come off as offensive, please let me know so I can learn. So even if you say something that you think that might be taboo or triggering, you said beforehand that, I'm sorry, son, I'm learning. I want to be in your life, so I'm interested in this, but just teach me. So if I say something that I'm not supposed to, I learn from you. So that way you have yourself covered. Even if you say something that you're not supposed to say, you already are telling him that I'm willing to learn from him, right?
If I could just send you a little bit of comfort here, Kristian, I think all of this that you were doing right here, right now, all of this back and forth, all of this, oh gosh, I just care about my son. I just want him to know that. I don't want him to go down this bad path that could harm himself or others. I think you are on the right track, brother. And that's good. That's huge, because unfortunately, too many times in this world, it goes the opposite direction, right? And we see this especially from the religious side, right? We on the non-religious side need to make sure that we're not engaging in the practices that we call out as harmful on the religious side. Just because we're not religious doesn't mean that those practices aren't still harmful. And again, honestly, brother, I think you're really going about this the right way. And I would love if you would just give us some updates, just let us know in the future, like how this goes for you, because maybe there's something here that can help other people as well. Armin, any other thoughts?
Yeah, two things, Kristian. One line that I don't know if it works for you or not, but one line that might help, and you could consider it or not, but one line that might really, really help to maintain this relationship is that you tell him that once you tell him that you learned about his new religion, is the line that you're my son and I love you and there's nothing that could change that. Yeah. So that line really gives a sense of security to your son about how much strength is behind this bond that you have with your son. I think that's a very useful line to use. And also, the second thing I want to say is just still in line with that, which is whatever habits you have in your family to express love to another, it doesn't hurt to increase that, just to make sure that a lot of people within families, again, I don't know about your family, but a lot of love between members of family are assumed, and everybody knows that they love each other, and that's why they don't express it. And I think it just helps when it comes to increasing the bonds within the family. Some people don't understand that the expression is important, even if everyone is aware of it and everyone knows that it's there is utility in actually expressing the love. So keep telling each other that you love each other, remind each other that you love each other, and that you will be there for each other.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kristian. Thank you so much, man, for hanging out with us and calling us. Yeah, we really appreciate it. And I think there's a lot here for a lot of our audience. And funny enough, I know already a bunch of our audience that have had similar experiences as well. So make sure to go check out all the fan run socials, the Facebooks and the Discord. I'll actually be hanging out in the Discord later on after this show. So please, if you have time, come and hang out with us. And then again, before we let you go, Kristian, I just want to say, give us a call back, brother. Give us a call back. Let us know how this works out. If it's good, we'll celebrate with you and we'll spread the message. And if it's bad, we'll lament with you and we'll be there to support you. So thanks so much, man. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
I don't know exactly what time it is in Denmark. I have to imagine it's not early in the day. I have to imagine it is probably close to midnight, brother. So seriously, that is awesome. We have a bunch of theists on the line, and I am just thrilled by that. So we are coming to every single one of you. Right before I do that, I have to shout out the wonderful people who helped make this show possible. And you think I'm going to say nice words about the crew here. I'm not going to do that, okay? I would not ask for a camera to be like a picture of all the amazing crew to be put up so that we could say nice things about them. Because if we did that, I would never live it down. Like if we got right here, right now on screen, like a crew cam shot or something, right? If we showed all of those people, I would never say something like, these are the backbone of this entire organization. The individuals you see here and see down in the chat and moderating all the socials, they are the ones that keep the wheels turning. I would never say something like that. I would never talk about how amazing they all are as volunteers. Super, super wonderful people. people again, which I would never say. I would never want to say that on camera. I'd never want to, have to defend that claim. It is a positive claim, and I'm not sure if the evidence is there. No, of course, I'm kidding. They're phenomenal. Also have to shout out the wonderful super chatters out there. Like, for instance, Godless Doctor sending us $4.99 saying, dog or God. I like that. I'm okay with that. I'm not against it, to be honest. Cats might have some things to say, but we've also got $1.99 from Marie saying, do people realize that God is Santa for adults? Yeah, I mean, kind of, right? That and like unicorns and Bigfoot and whatnot. We've also got $5 Canadian from Life on Atlantis saying, if I say mad scientist, you think Jekyll and Hyde or Frankenstein. But if I say religious nut, you're not thinking of a fictional person anymore. Well, that is a really, I know, that is a sharp point there. That is a sharp point, Life on Atlantis. We also have, I already shouted out Michael Bell. Thank you so much for mentioning Recovering from Religion, a super great organization. Secular Therapy Project as well, another great organization. And of course, I have to shout out one of our wonderful members. Been a member for 2 freaking years. The Earth traveled around in an elliptical path around the sun twice. And that's how long Quantum Answer has been a member. And to help this wonderful community, Quantum Answer just gifted 10 Atheist Experience memberships. What? So if you just got one of those memberships, make sure to thank Quantum Answer and then spam the chat with all of those emojis because we love emojis. We do love them to death. We are going to grab another call here. Let's go talk to John in California. He, him. John, you are on the Atheist Experience. And before we go any further, I just want to say, I believe you and I talked last week. And I don't think
we did. Yeah.
And I don't think it went fantastically. And so I would like to do the best we possibly can to make this a good conversation, okay? It says
I'm
here,
on board.
Awesome. I want to just make sure we are starting off on the same page. What I have in front of me says, Jesus is food. I have mathematical evidence to prove this. Now, is that fair? Is that what you're calling about? And if so, let's just dig into it, brother, because I am very interested in this.
That's the second part that I'm calling about. But what I wanted to talk about first and what I wanted to jump right into, because you guys have been asking for this, and this is actually what I meant to do last week. It was my fault for getting sidetracked. So that's why I wanted to start off right off the bat to stay focused so it doesn't get sidetracked.
All right.
But I believe I genuinely have mathematical proof of a deity. Not, I would have to support this, to make the connection between that and Jesus. I have some more work to do.
Yep,
but I think a logical place to start would be here.
Yeah, I'm fine with, hey, look, you got some connection with this particular deity and the Jesus. Okay, cool. But it sounds like you have a fairly robust little bit of info here that you are going to present to myself and Armin. I am ready for this. I am not the greatest mathematician in the world, but second place ain't bad.
Don't have to be at all.
I'm just kidding, man. I was just teasing. Anyway, I think I'm ready for this mathematical proof of a deity of some kind. If Armin's ready too, I say let's go for it. So what you got?
All right. So the first place we have to start, the first premise that the rest of this logic is based on, is that the math energy equivalence is true. E equals mc squared. We could waste a lot of time proving that, but would you be willing to just give, that's not like accepted dogma. That's something that's
pretty comfortable with that. Yeah. Interested to see where we go from here. Honestly, was not expecting E equals MC squared to come up at all. Fascinated that it is the first thing that came up. So yes, I'm on board. I love it. I love E. I love M and C's getting squared. All for it. Where do we go from there?
All right. From here, I want to propose a thought experiment.
Okay.
I want to propose, and this is like I said, this is a thought experiment. I know very well there are physical limits why you could never build this in reality. I'm not telling anybody to do this at home. It'd be very scary if somebody tried to do this. So that's not, It's just a thought experiment. But I want you to the way I picture it is a firearm. That's a touchy subject for some people, but just a tube with a ball that gets shot out at the end. That's all that matters. Because we're not even worried about the ball that much. But what I'm talking about is we're going to take like the Platonic ideal of this, something that obviously couldn't be built in reality, but like the ideal 100% thermal efficient, perfect projectile system where, and I'm just going to zoom out just because I know that it's a touchy subject. I'm not trying to use the word firearm. I'm just going to describe this in the most general physical terms.
Can we get to the point? This is taking a while. Can you get us to the point?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So we have a device that converts the potential energy of fuel into the kinetic energy of a projectile, whatever we want to call that. That's all I'm asking you to picture.
Yeah, I'm with you.
My argument now is that, so I'm trying to picture the most efficient version of that. By my definition, the most, and again, I know this can't be done in reality, but this is hypothetical.
Oh my! Can you, John? Can you just not repeat what the things that you have said, because this is already taking a long time. We need to get to the point. You keep saying I can't. This cannot be done in reality. Stop repeating yourself. Get to the point.
I'm getting there. So the most efficient version of this device possible would be one where all of the fuel, all of the mass in the fuel that you put there is completely annihilated, and by some magically 100% thermally efficient process, all of that energy is converted to the projectile. If we accept that this thing is 100% efficient, at the end, if the projectile started at rest, we could measure the kinetic energy of it, and if it is truly 100% thermally efficient, the kinetic energy of the projectile must be.
You're using the wrong formula. When fuel burns, what kind of fuel are you talking about? Like, you're talking about uranium? What are you talking about?
That's what I'm saying, and that you do have a good point there. It's not burning, because burning implies combustion. I'm talking about and this is where it's not real. The closest thing that we have to it in reality
saying all the matter
is when
fine. All right. So all the matter that you have turns into all the matter that you have turns into energy. That's what you're saying.
Yes. And all of it is converted to the projectile. So if I measure the kinetic energy of the projectile, I also measured the amount of potential energy that I had to start. That's conservation of mass, right? That's not two.
Okay, move on. Get to the point.
Yeah.
Now here's my point. Here's my good point. By general relativity, we accepted the mass energy equivalent, so we kind of have to accept some of Einstein's laws. What's the fastest speed that bullet can possibly be traveling?
C.
The speed of light?
Perfect.
C. Okay, so what?
We know the formula for kinetic energy is 1/2 mc.
Oh God,
squared.
this is going to take forever, and it's not going to get to God. Can you explain to us?
Just let me finish.
Okay.
He's almost there, Armin.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'm so close.
This is
I'm really close.
Are you trolling us?
So, if C is the highest possible value for V, we accepted that. We plug into our kinetic energy formula. V equals C. So then our kinetic energy is 1/2 mc squared. But at the beginning, we said that E equals mc squared. We only got half of our energy back. Where'd the other half go?
Okay. What has this got to do with God?
I'll get there. This is based on the 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics.
Hang on, John. Hang on. I'm so sorry.
I'm
so sorry because I wanted this to go well. I did. I feel like for the last 7.5 minutes, what we've been doing is just like the hardest of hardcore of gazing at our navels. And I'm not sure that any more information here will get us to this place of like, haha, there you go. That's a God. Now you accept it, because it really feels like to me, you're currently doing one of those things, which I did all the time when I was a believer, where I would be like, yeah, man, but like, think about it, man. Cause like if the ancient Hebrews, man, read the text from, the ancient Ahura Mazdans, and like then they, aliens, and then like if you take 5 and you divide it by 5, and we've got 5 fingers, man, and I've got a spleen, and my spleen has, and it kind of feels like we're making a lot of really disparate connections that don't really have the actual bridge to them, man. And I guess I'm just... Have you run anything that you told us in the first 7 minutes of this call? Have you run any of it by a mathematician? Has any physicist ever looked at this?
I ran it by a physics professor in college, and they named a set of units after me.
They named a set of units after you.
Okay, I'm refusing to partake. This is a troll.
All right.
This cannot be.
Armin's calling you. Armin's calling it, John. Armin's calling it. I'm sorry. I kind of gotta agree with him, man. Yeah. I'm thinking about asking you what those are, but to be honest, John, I don't know how serious you are. I was worried when I took the call, but I'm glad you had a chance to at least put it out there. Yeah.
If you want to be an effective troll, you cannot make it this obvious. Let me just tell you, like this is.
I mean,
make it so. Yeah.
Where we ended last week, John, I believe the point at which I really had to throw in the towel was when you said to me, "God is photosynthesis." That was rough for me to hear, and we're not even in person together. So anyway, I'm gonna let you go, John. I hope that journey was fun for folks, and I hope they got something out of it, because I didn't. Let's keep moving. We've got a few other wonderful people in here. We've got a couple of theists we are going to get to y'all right freaking now, because we always love to talk with our theist friends out there. We are going to go out to Washington. We're going to talk with Jiub. Him is a theist and wants to give us an argument for God. So, Jiub, you are talking with Armin, Navabi, and Secular Rarity. What is up?
Hey, thanks guys for taking my call, first time calling.
Yeah, thanks for calling. What you got for us today? It sounds like you got an argument for God, and we love it. If you are on speakerphone, by the way, take us off real quick if you don't mind.
I'm not. I don't.
No worries. Keep going.
So, it's gonna be, so just a disclaimer. I'm into presuppositional apologetics. So the argument for God that I like to run is actually very similar to the apophatic guy that called in a few times ago. And so he gave the short form argument on how God is the necessary precondition for knowledge. We have knowledge, therefore God. And it sounded like you guys, one of you may have accepted it, that it was formally valid, but you were objecting to it, that it was maybe committing an informal fallacy.
Yeah. Soundness, I think, is where the problem comes in. Armin also mentioned a potential equivocation problem. So yeah. Armin, did you have anything you want to say real quick before?
Just tell us, just get to the point. Why knowledge, therefore God? Why knowledge, therefore God?
Yeah.
Right. So you were questioning him on premise 1. How do you get premise 1?
Okay, forget him. You believe knowledge, therefore God. Why knowledge, therefore God?
Well, are you asking me to give an account for the first premise? Because I'm going to run the same argument.
I'm asking you why knowledge. Do you believe in knowledge, therefore God? Do you believe that?
No, the argument is God is the necessary precondition for knowledge. We have knowledge, therefore God. That is the argument.
Right, and Armin's just shortening it a little bit. Yeah, yes. Armin's just trying to shorten it a little bit, just so that we can actually discuss it, man. So yeah, like if you accept that argument, which it very much sounds like you do, just give us some more clarification. Let's just get to the meat of it. Let's get to the meat of it, Jiub.
Why knowledge? Okay, so why knowledge, therefore God? Why?
Are you asking me for the syllogism for premise 1 of the argument? Yes or no?
Sure. If that's gonna be the way
You
that
guys,
we move
here's
further.
the thing. Here's why talking to you guys is a waste of time. Okay, because your arguments are so dumb that the only way you can make it sound intelligent is to turn the most basic statement to sound like they're philosophical. Like, it's so obvious what I'm asking, but you want to use big words to make it seem like they're intelligent, and they should not work. People should understand how stupid and idiotic these claims are, and all your big words are not going to fool people. Why knowledge, therefore God? Explain that.
So either God is the necessary precondition for knowledge, or he is not the necessary precondition for knowledge. I'm setting up a disjunctive syllogism, and then I'm saying, God, it's not the necessary precondition for knowledge. So therefore, all you're left with is God must be the necessary precondition.
Right, but then you do realize, though, that what you've done is you've kicked the can down the road, right? I mean, I appreciate that, because at least we've taken a few steps further in this argument, but you understand then that all you've done is just say, well, it has to be. And so ultimately what we would need then is the breakdown, the justification, the argument in syllogism form, if you like, but we would need an understanding of why God is not the necessary thing, right? Currently, all we're doing is saying it has to be this and just moving on. In the hypothetical where we go, hey guys, let's just for a minute assume that this has been rigorously demonstrated, then all of this stuff is true. And it's like, yeah, sure, fine. Okay, cool. But the issue is still, you have to demonstrate that God is a necessary precondition for knowledge. So if you're just going to say, well, it's either that or it's that he's not, and it's not that one, I mean, that I appreciate it, but then how do you know that it's not that one?
Right, so I set up a true dichotomy between either.
I'm really comfortable with that, man, but what I'm not comfortable with is just going, well, it's not, and then just shrugging our shoulders and moving on.
It's just a repetition of the claim.
Right.
It's a circular argument. It's circular argument. You can't show any of them. You cannot show knowledge, therefore God, and you cannot show you need God for knowledge. And all you do is just repeat this forever and ever and ever and ever again. And you act like you made an argument. You haven't even begun to make an argument, and you think like we have to criticize. There's no way to criticize your argument because you made no arguments.
Well, why don't you actually criticize its form or its content rather than saying stuff like...
because you have said nothing. Said nothing.
And also, just to be clear, Jiub, like the formal construction, the validity of the syllogism is like, hey, man, I'm so glad that as a child, you have learned to tie your shoes. That's awesome. Like, congratulations, you did the most basic part of it. I don't give a flying fuck if it's valid. It has to be valid. Otherwise, we can just all walk away happy. So I'm here to say, man, it's formal. It's good, bro. You got the form, man. Form is spot fucking on. Congrats. Now give us the thing that's actually important, which is at the end of the day, the support, the demonstration for the premises, man, the soundness of it. That's what we're getting at. And when we dug a little further on that first premise and we said, hey, man, give us something for that, you're like, well, it's a true dichotomy. It either is or is not. And we're like, yeah, sure, that's true. And you're like, well, it's not the not side. And that's it. All you've done is just reasserted. So like, how do we get more information on that portion of it, Jiub? That's where I think the problem is.
Right.
They're saying God, therefore knowledge. We have knowledge, therefore God. That's just a circle that keeps going forever. Yeah. But even if that were, here's the thing. Here's what's happening. Okay, they think because that circle, if it was true, makes sense. Therefore, is true. Right? Because they have this internal system that if it was true, it would make sense. If God, therefore knowledge, and we have knowledge, therefore God, it keeps pointing to itself, so it works. But you haven't shown. Yeah, go on.
No, go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
No, but you haven't begun to show any. You have to, at some point, you have to enter the circle from somewhere else. You cannot just act like we're already in the circle. You have to come from somewhere outside of the circle into the circle.
Yeah.
But go on.
Just let me speak. In order to obtain knowledge autonomously, one must use first principles. And since those first principles cannot be justified.
Yeah, we're going down the exact same route. We're going down the exact same route as Apothatic, and I think ultimately what the problem is that still you're avoiding what's actually important here, and I understand why. I know why you are. It's because it is incredibly, incredibly difficult, and simply just taking this assumption on board will lead you to all of the conclusions that you want to get. And so when it comes to having this conversation and really hashing it out with people, you have to just get them to go, yeah, sure, I'll accept it. Because otherwise there's nowhere to go. And the reason that there's nowhere to go is because there's a foundational problem here, which is just the assertion that somehow you have been able to figure out what are the necessary preconditions for knowledge. And I feel like that is so egotistical of anybody to say that they have come up with that when, supposedly, I mean, could be false, but supposedly us human, whatever, Homo sapien things have been doing this for a really fucking long time. And this argument has not stood the test of time. There's a reason less and less people are in this boat, right? And again, I think there's a lot of really smart, learned individuals out there that tear this argument to shreds. And again,
you don't need to be that smart. Elliot, you don't need to be that smart.
That's fine. I'm just really trying to say they're great. Yeah, I'm just really trying to say those people are good at what they do. But Jiub, I one more time. I'm gonna try. Okay. And I get it. Hey, maybe there's some dense philosophical understanding, okay, that maybe just Armin and I don't have. Maybe we're just not the brightest bulb in the box. I'm okay with that. Okay. Give it to me like I'm 5. Okay. We've actually even got this cute little minute timer. All right. And I'm going to do my best when I finish talking. Okay. You will have a full 60 seconds. Armin won't talk. I won't talk. Our wonderful backup host, Kelly, is muted, so he can't talk anyway. You will get that whole 60 seconds. And when that 60 seconds is up, Armin and I will just jump right in, okay? So when I'm done talking, we're going to get that little clock on screen. You have a full minute. If you choose, you can spend that whole time just saying, gosh, Armin, you suck. SR, you're an idiot. I wish you'd let me talk. You could, or you could just take the full 60 seconds and try to answer this question like I am a stupid child. Okay, so here's the question, and then we're going to get that clock up for you. Okay, Jiub? So, how have you shown that God is a necessary precondition for knowledge? You've got 60 seconds.
Yeah, so when I say, what do I mean by necessary precondition? It means I can't get this without that. I can't go, for example, ice skating without ice skates. I can't make a cake without the necessary ingredients such as eggs or flour or butter, etc. Whatever makes a cake a cake. So the necessary ingredients are essential to the definition of what that thing is. And so when I move up in metaphysical necessities such as logic and truth and knowledge, I'm not just trying to demonstrate components for a cake, which is an analogy. I'm trying to demonstrate certain things to be impossibility to the contrary. Like we can't deny logic, we can't deny the self, we can't deny causality, because those are all essential components in what makes knowledge knowledge. Right? If you deny a component, then it's not.
So we have hit the time limit, Jiub, and I gave you a warning that we were going to jump in like right at it, okay? And I'm going to hang up and I'm going to let you go. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to do that, Jiub, okay? Because I think you've been very cordial, right? I think you've been kind, right? I think you've been genuine, to be honest. I always want to give that charity to people. I also fully believe that if you rewind this video about 3 minutes and you start it right there and go show it to fucking anybody in your daily life as to whether or not you did the assignment that I very clearly laid out, I think they would say, not really, man. You kind of explained what the definition of necessary is, but you didn't demonstrate.
That's what I wanted to say.
Well, I said it first, Armin.
He said he spent 1 minute explaining to us what necessary means.
Yeah. What we wanted, we wanted was the demonstration of how you showed that God is that necessary component. So again, Jiub, call me back. Call us back another time, man. Because I don't know. I thought that was pretty clear. Look, hey, folks, look, you in the audience out there, okay? You people that are, well, I don't mean you people, I'm sorry. But you people that are watching this afterwards, after it's live, okay? And watching the stream and the live, and all that good shit, right? Tell me if I'm just wrong there, Maybe I did not lay that out clearly. Maybe I did a shit job of communicating that. Maybe he was answering the question directly. I very much could be wrong, but I really feel like I did a good job of distinguishing. We don't want the definition of necessary. We want how you determined God is necessary for knowledge. So I don't think we got that. Yeah. What do you got to say?
No, we don't. We are now very clear. Me and Elliot did not understand what he means by necessary, but now we are very clear about what that word means and how it is used. Thank you so much for that.
I had never known. I had never known.
However, here's an interesting thing, Elliot. Tell me if you agree with this. This is old in the sense that it's human-centric. This goes back to religious people being pissed that the earth is not the center of the universe, right? This is very similar in the sense that it's about knowledge, right? And the assumption, like imagine how human-centric our minds have to be to assume something that we personally experience. This is about a human experience of observing the universe and coming up with conclusions about it, forming beliefs, and then defining certain beliefs that it has as knowledge, like categorizing it as knowledge. This is a very human experience and a very human definition. And then think that this is something so foundational within the fabric of the goddamn universe. How self-centered and self-obsessed we are as humans to take this very human experience and attribute it to existence itself. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not talking about knowledge as if it's just one part of the universe, a very small part of the universe. This they see it everywhere. They see it as within the very fabric of the universe. And I think I could see why so many people get confused, because there are many things in the universe that can be described as information and the processing of information. If you're very flexible with how you use the words processing and information. And that will give you enough excuse for you to categorize them as knowledge. And then because our knowledge has a source that is human-like, because if you want to define God, if you want to prove God, nothing will be God unless it has some human characteristics. Right. Because if it doesn't any human characteristics, it's just some energy or some vague thing that we all will agree is part of nature. So that human characteristics is the essential part that they have to insert in what they mean by God for it to be anything like the Abrahamic religions or other religions were suggesting that are gods. So given that in nature we have information and some things happen to information, and in our minds, our knowledge and our thinking could be described as information and things happening to information, and behind that, it's something like human. Therefore, they want to come up with a conclusion that whatever is behind the universe has to have similar characteristics.
Yeah. I think I largely agree with you on all of that. I will just say, you probably pissed off all the pantheists in our audience. So stay mad, pantheists. Call us next week or come to the Discord. We're going to be hanging out there. We've got some more calls because we just freaking love doing this. I think we could probably take this next one pretty quickly. We're going to go to Dave, he, him out in California. Dave, it says here that you're saying it's dogmatic to assert that there is nothing for us after death. I would say yes. I think that's pretty easy, cut and dry. If somebody says, hey, guaranteed there's nothing going on after death, I would say that is you standing on a burden that you can't prove, which is why I tend to say the best evidence available indicates that there is most likely nothing after death. Do you feel like that's a better stance?
Well, yeah, maybe. My whole thing is that, first of all, I agree with like 95% of what you guys say. As far as, the dogmatic religions, Christianity and Muslims and all that kind of thing, if you don't know about something, you don't make stuff up in order to fill the gap, So it's really important to know what you know and to know what you don't know. And you can say that obviously there isn't plain evidence like someone who comes back after being reincarnated and on a wide scale, lots of people coming back telling you who they were and all that kind of thing. So it's definitely not an obvious thing. But there are a lot of people looking into it. There's University of Virginia Ions. Have you heard of them?
I haven't, but real quick before we go much further down this route, hang on just a second for me, Dave, because I think we can just put most of the stuff away and like make this pretty quick. Like I said, I think it is a fundamental principle of skepticism, right? That you proportion your confidence in a claim to the evidence available, right? And so with that, I say, yeah, man, I'm there with you on board. There is some, funky shit going on. I'd still say all of that funky brain stuff, all of them cool near-death experiences and people having visions and corroborating this and that. I'd say all of it that I have seen really does not meet up to the rigorous standard to warrant a belief that there is anything going on in the afterlife, right? And I think that's the most important. I'm not against, hang on, I'm almost done. I'm not against the idea of continuing to look down the route and find more info, but I don't think it's beneficial for us to say, hey man, there's a lot of good stuff out there, because I just don't think that's what the evidence lends. I don't think that's where it leads us, man. So yeah, I think largely we're on board in general, and I think if there are those out there and the atheist, skeptical, non-religious, theological, non-cognitivist, I just feel like I have to say that term at least once a show. If there's anybody in that boat that's saying they have solid, robust evidence to lead them to the conclusion there is nothing after this life, I am all on board with you, Dave, when it comes to saying, hey, man, I think you're taking a step too far.
My main point is to know what you know and know what you don't know, because there's a lot of mysteries going on. I
think that's fair, man.
In the universe, in this life. And I'm sure you agree with that. And some people say, well, life is a spark of light between two eternal darknesses. And you go, okay, are you sure about that? Yeah, it's because, we don't see anything. But that's not necessarily a good argument, because it's taken years and years and years to even figure out that there's 75% of the universe is dark matter. And you can't see that. You can't see radio waves. There's a lot of things that exist that you can't see. So
but we can absolutely see the effects of radio waves. There is definitely a physical component to that and dark matter and stuff. But I think broadly speaking, Dave, I think the point is taken. I like it. And so, yeah, I think we're pretty much on the same page, Dave, man, and we'll move on. Wow, we lost the call anyway. Sorry.
Oh,
I mean, you can still say it. It's going to be online.
I was going to ask him a question because
you
he
can't do
says
that.
no. Because I was going to ask him, like, I was going to claim that I'm his father, and I'm going to ask him if he believes that, given that we don't know, we don't have enough. There are many things that we don't know. So would he be willing to, you know, consider that as how big of a possibility would you consider that? Like, I don't know, it's just ridiculous when people appeal to ignorance and use lack of knowledge as a way to assert anything. What do you think?
Well,
it's just so ridiculous.
No, I think that's very good. I think that's very good, and I'm glad you pushed past me hand waving you away, and I'm glad you still said it, because Dave, if you heard that, call us back next time Armin's on and answer that question. I'm sure that would be good.
One more thing. It's I think it's given that we have so much evidence that all of these experiences are, you know, we technically we know that there's no life after death. Okay, let's not mess around with. We know there's no life with all the information that we have. I don't think you have any excuse to come suggest that we have life after death. And I think given the amount of knowledge and data that we have regarding not having life after death, it's very irresponsible to suggest that we have life after death, because it's one of the most destructive and harmful beliefs that we have come up with. A lot of the harm that is associated with religion is this. It's because of belief in life after death. This is what most religions share. And the hope that it gives, the changing of the focus, and the justification of so many evil doings, and just the recalculation. So if I believe that all of us are utilitarians when it comes to our moral system, even if we act that we are not. And given that once you open the door to another life after death, all your calculations for benefit and harm will be wrong. And basically, given that as an individual and a society, what we are trying to do is to come up with solutions that creates the most amount of utility for the highest number of people. That's the whole point of everything we do as an individual and as a society. If you add an afterlife to that calculation, everything will be off. All your conclusions will be off. I don't care if this is Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism. They're all harmful exactly, or any other woo modern superstitious belief that you have. They're all extremely harmful because of this suggestion. So you are being you might not be dogmatic if you're willing to change your opinion, but you are being extremely irresponsible by spreading such a toxic, harmful ideology.
I love it, man. See, this is why I love doing stuff with you, man. You always bring up good stuff, man. Always bringing up the good stuff. And yeah, I think I think it's demonstrable how much a belief in an afterlife has really harmed people. And that's why I'm a big fan of Dr. Marlene Winnell and the Council on Religious Trauma, a wonderful nonprofit organization. Marlene Winnell, by the way, is the person who coined the term religious trauma, you guys. So if you don't know who she is and the wonderful work she does, you definitely probably want to go check that out. But we have some super chats. And then we've got a theist on the line who has been waiting for almost an hour and a freaking half, Patrick. You are a champion. And I think you deserve some jewels in your crown for this, at least. But we've got 200 Czech krona. I'm pretty sure. I think it's Czech krona. I could be wrong on this. But Quantum Answer, member for 2 years. You wonderful member, you, saying, no, SR, you did great. He wasn't answering anything because he has no answers. He said, because impossibility to contrary, which repeats the claim, he just obfuscated the fuck out of it. So bad. I just want to say the phrase obfuscated the fuck out of it, I just think is a really fun phrase to say. So if you have the ability to say it right now, just go ahead and say it real quick. It's fun. It just has this nice little pattern to it. Anyway, we've got $5 super chat from William Blanken, who has been a member for 1 month as well. You rock, William. Saying, if an apologist presupposes a god in the forest, does it make a sound argument? Jesus Christ. Oh, man, that was good. I'm sorry. If an apologist presupposes a god in the forest, does it make a sound argument? God damn. God damn, there's been some good ones today. See, I know, seriously. I give you that one, man. I give you that one indeed. Well, we are gonna get to this wonderful, wonderful theist all the way in London, Patrick, he, him. You have been hanging on the line for an hour and a half, man. Thank you so much. You are on the Atheist Experience with Armin, Navabi, and Secular Rarity. What is up, brother?
Yeah, I would say I haven't been hanging on the line. I've been listening intently. It's been a great show.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. So, God. I think essentially does exist. So, what do you know about game theory and evolution?
A little bit about game theory, a little bit about like Bruce Buena de Mesquita and people like that. But yeah, I mean,
Prisoner's Dilemma,
yeah,
Prisoner's Dilemma,
yeah, all of that. I mean, like again, like I'm not here to point out some degree that's hanging on my wall just off camera on it, but
you're connecting three different things. Quantum game theory proves God through evolution. So evolution, game theory, and quantum, that's a whole bunch of different things.
You bit off a lot, man.
Yeah, exactly. I really did. In fact, the reason why I'm here in the first place is that you have a video called The Quantum Referee.
Oh.
Can you
Google quantum?
Make the argument. Can you make the argument? We're waiting for the argument. Yes.
So the quantum referee is basically what the thought experiment places between the qubits that guarantees that the qubits are entangled. Now, this is the theory and the practice behind quantum computing. And when you use it for quantum computing, that's fine, because that's just where it is. But when you apply this to biology, specifically to evolution, this quantum referee is still in it. Okay? And then when that quantum referee is there, we have to ask the question what that quantum referee is. Now, if you're an atheist, then it can just stay there and be like, what is it? But if you really want to...
What are you even saying? You're not explaining very well what you're saying. How does this apply? How does quantum computing apply to evolution?
Yeah, exactly. So game theory is the backbone of like modern evolutionary theory. John Maynard Smith, 71, publishes Hawk's Dove Game, which is a derivation of the prisoner dilemma. And then it gets picked up by a guy called Axelrod in politics, and they sort out altruism.
We don't care. No, Patrick. We don't care about a history lesson. We don't care about other people. What we care about right now is an argument. Okay. So.
So
go ahead.
It's a case. I'm building a case. So you get those bits. Now,
when you build a case, here's the thing. We're limited on time. When you're building a case, giving us a history lesson and mentioning what other people say is basically going to waste our time. Take the parts of what they said that is important to making your case and just build the case that way. Okay?
Okay. So game theory is important. Now it's got quantum, which is quantum information. Quantum information is passed via entanglement. The entanglement goes faster than the speed of light. Okay, that's a scientific. That's what happens. The 2022 Nobel Prize winner, the guy from California, mentioned it before.
Again, you're starting again. You're giving us a history lesson instead of giving us argument. We don't care about Nobel Prizes. We don't care about the names. Make the argument.
Here we go. If it goes faster than the speed of light, it can do its business outside of space-time. And then, we can put that point aside. And then we can go back to the evolution and say that same thing facilitates evolution when you apply quantum game theory to it. So then we're saying the thing that
within evolution, there's nothing within quantum game theory that the quantum physics, okay, is evolution is a biological process, okay, that is not subatomic. You're mixing two completely different worlds. Quantum physics applies in a world that is smaller than certain particles, like it's subatomic. Within evolution, everything is biological. All the reactions are chemical reactions. You don't need to apply nothing that we learned about quantum physics is required for you to be able to explain the evolutionary process. These are two different fields that you're mixing together.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any quantum mechanical tunneling going on when we eat food. You know what I'm saying? That just doesn't seem to apply in this realm.
You could explain everything about evolution with Newtonian physics and chemistry. You don't need to go to quantum physics. Everything within evolution is explainable without getting to modern physics.
It's scientifically. Because you're saying now, you're saying we can't apply that because it's not allowed. So we aren't allowed.
I don't think that's what we were saying at all, Patrick. I think what we were trying to do is distinguish for you that all of the really smart thinkological what's-its, I'm pretty sure that's the technical term, could be scientists, but I'm pretty sure all those really, really smart people are having trouble with what's called like the unified theory, right? That one big line of evidence and science and math and understanding of the world that bridges the micro quantum with the macro biology stuff. I think that's a really big problem right now in physics. And it sounds like what you're trying to say is, hey, bro, I actually figured that shit out. And then my argument would be you wasted an hour and a half of your life by sitting on hold with us, bro. Call the fucking Nobel Prize already, man. Don't talk to me. Give Sweden a call, man. They're the ones handing that shit out. Like, if you have figured out how, like, quantum spookiness matters when it comes to like me eating food and then certain chemicals being released in my body and then not feeling hungry anymore, then awesome, dude. Like, don't tell me about it. Fuck. I'm some jackass in Tennessee, bro. Call up the people who actually can do something with this, you know? But currently it just kind of sounds like we're half a bong rip away from just like, dude, we're all the universe, man, and everybody's God, man. So yeah, I don't know that there's much more meat on this bone. Armin, anything else you want to say?
No, it's just, here's the thing. When people talk about quantum physics, just look at what they're talking about. And if that world that they're talking about is too big, what they're saying does not apply, right? When you're talking about biological chemical reactions within biology, that whole world is too big. We're talking on a much bigger scale of things happening for quantum physics to apply at all. So a lot of times people apply quantum physics, like they mention it because it's just, like Elliot said, it's spooky, it's mysterious, things haven't been explained, and it's just such a mysterious world for you to be able to just insert anywhere when you want to have some religious talk, right? And It doesn't apply. When you're talking about psychology, when you're talking about biology, when you're talking about many, many fields within science, as soon as people talk about quantum, just realize that this is a huge red flag, and they probably are going to bring a whole bunch of pseudoscientific nonsense into the discussion.
I think that is pretty indicative of most of these conversations I have had too. Patrick, thank you. Thank you for calling us. I know you waited a really long time. We didn't have a shit ton of time to really go into this, though I'm not positive if we had done this earlier in the show, it would have lasted much longer either. Next time, if you call us back, my brother, okay? If you call us back, let me offer you this. Take a few minutes, write down some bullet points where you say, here is how this shit connects, y'all. And then I think we'll have a lot more to deal with. We'll have a lot more to work with. So thank you, Patrick. We're letting you go. And we are not done yet, folks. We are not done yet. Okay. Don't turn those dials. I don't know if people have dials anymore. But I do have a super chat I want to read. We've got $6.66 from the lovely Hells Bells, an absolutely wonderful person and a close friend of mine, saying, remember, theists, you don't need to be God's PR rep. He's God. Funny how he needs you to promote his ever-present being. Something to ponder. I frickin' agree, Helen. I do agree. But again, we're not over. We're not done yet. I know the crew is like, oh my God, SR, just fucking let us go already. But before we do, I have been doing this thing lately, and I love doing it. And Armin, do you see our little private chat there? I just posted in our private chat. We got a response from a wonderful viewer. I don't know if they're long time or new, but they are so wonderful as to leave some comments. They have a bit of criticism for me. And And I was just wondering if you could read that real quick for us out there. What do the lovely viewers have to say about me today, Armin?
So this is directed at you. Okay, so this is regarding the Jesus getting mad at a fig tree. So the person said, dude, you should really not talk about things that you don't understand. You just come off sounding ridiculous. Seems pretty offended. As this guy, you hit a nerve. Because SR said Jesus got mad at a fig tree.
Yeah.
That's what this person is referring to.
Wow.
I mean, if he wasn't mad, that would make Jesus more insane.
Yeah, probably right.
That actually makes him like that's a very psychopath. Right? Imagine he's not mad. He's just cursing you. You didn't have it. You didn't have a fig. Problem. You didn't have fruit. I'm just like calmly going to curse you so that you never bear fruit. That's actually more creepy.
It is. I noticed
that sounds like a villain.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought that was pretty good. Well, but don't worry, Armin. This abuse will not go one way. We are equal opportunity abusers here. So I want to read to you what somebody has said. You, in the past, you made this ridiculous claim where you said that God is either incapable or too moral to stop suffering. Now, Armin, let me tell you the truth. That, my friend, is nonsense. God has morally sufficient reasons to allow suffering to exist. What do you say to that, Mr. Atheist?
Well, God being all-powerful would also have sufficient ways to achieve those reasons without the suffering. Achieve whatever goal he has had, is all-powerful. There's no limitations. So what would you do with that?
Interesting. Yeah.
Whatever, guys, there's no way getting out of this, right? Whatever reason God has for suffering, whatever goal there is, God being all-powerful, he would be able to achieve those exact same goals without the suffering.
Yeah. And the fact that he's not makes him evil by his own standard.
Right. And if they say it's impossible, you do need God. It's required. God knows that their suffering is required for those goals to be achieved. And it's impossible to do it any other way. Tell them there's nothing impossible for God.
Ooh, baby. Well, folks, it has been a wonderful time. I have absolutely loved this. I always love when I am on the shows because I get to hang out with some wonderful people, have some great conversation, and especially, Armin, whenever you and I are on together, brother, it is always so much fun, man. Folks out there, remember the prompt for this week. Fill in the blank. I think God made blank a sin just to fuck with us. Get your answer in the comments below and make sure to check out the beginning of next week's episode because it might be read off. Armin, anything else you want to say to the viewers before we get the fuck out of here?
No, this is just such a fun show. And thank you so much, Elliot, for allowing me to bring attention to the situation right now in Iran and also for reminding people about Tumaj Salehi. Guys, please go look that up. Just a simple hashtag could make a difference. Again, the regime in Iran is right now looking to see if there is going to be a global reaction. And you could be part of that global reaction. So please do. Just one post would make a difference. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here today. We love you so freaking much. Don't forget, we'll be back next week with another live episode, 4:30 p.m. Central Time. Not just next week, but every Sunday. And until then, go out and do something blasphemous or heathenous or, I don't know, just live your fucking life the way you think and not on the terms of a deity. All right, see you guys. Get out of here. Jesus is food, man.
Can you poop Jesus if Jesus is food?
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.